NFL draft coming up in just a couple of weeks, and I saw today that the NFL said they're only inviting 15 players. 15 to 20, actually.
I saw that too, only because I saw a headline about Bo Nix not being invited.
Yeah, so they're saying that they don't want any more than 20. So they said they were going to invite 15 to 20, although some people turned him down. Like J.J. McCarthy apparently said no, he doesn't want to come. So I guess what they're trying to do this year is they're trying to eliminate the green room. The green room fall, because every year we see this. It's the Aaron Rodgers theory, right? Where someone comes to the NFL draft and they just sit there that's supposed to be a top 10 pick and they fall sometimes even into the second round. It happens every year.
We saw it happen with a number of guys before, and then it's especially embarrassing when you have to come back the next day.
Yeah, every year, right, we hear about, oh, this guy is a surefire, top 15 pick, and he goes a-tumbling. Because remember, when it comes to the NFL draft, we can speculate all we want, and, everyone in university likes this guy, but we don't really know. Like, people play this stuff very, very close to their chest, especially with these quarterbacks, right? We have a belief that we know that we're going to see potentially 4 quarterbacks in the first 4 or 5 picks, right? Seemingly J.J. McCarthy being one of those, and then Bo Nix and Michael Penix being the other two that everyone says, hey, these are going to be first-round picks. In fact, I've seen Penix maybe going like 13 overall to the Raiders. Well, apparently the NFL doesn't agree with that.
They don't want to roll the dice.
They don't want to roll the dice. So Nix and Penix are not going to be invited, but McCarthy is. And this is where I find it interesting, and I want to talk to Joey about this. Yep. Joey Harrington will join us next. I'm not saying that I watch all of J.J. McCarthy's games, right? I always put this qualifier on it. There is a big difference. I watch a lot of college football. I always say that I feel more comfortable speaking on the Pac-12 than I do anything else because I watch more Pac-12 football than anything else. I watched every game that Bo Nix played when he was at Oregon. Never missed a game. I watched 75% of Michael Penix's snaps at UW. I try to watch I do watch every Oregon game. I watch every Oregon State game, and I watch every Washington game. I'd say
for the most part that you can.
For the most part that I can, right? Even if I miss a game, I try to go back, and sometimes I'll skip through it, do the little skip ahead button. But I watch those. And over the course of watching those, I feel like I get a pretty good grasp on the Pac-12. And then from a national standpoint, I watched Michigan play 10 times over the last 2 years. And so I feel like I have at least put my eyeballs on J.J. McCarthy, and I think J.J. McCarthy is a fine quarterback. But never once when I was watching J.J. McCarthy did I think I was watching a top 10 quarterback, let alone I thought it was a borderline first-round quarterback. He went into this year as a borderline first-year quarterback. And what I keep hearing about J.J. McCarthy, about why he's a top 5 pick, is because he's a winner.
That's a little weird, isn't it?
It makes no sense to me whatsoever that you keep hearing he's a winner. Jake Browning was a winner. Ken Dorsey was a winner.
So, you know who else? Like Greg McElroy, A.J. McCarron, guys like that who never lost in high school, in college. So what? That doesn't make you a good pro quarterback.
It's so strange that we're not talking about much about McCarthy other than he wins. In fact, the one that always bewilders me is the game against Penn State. He didn't throw a pass in the second half.
And you might even say about him, it's not so much that he's a winner, he's not going to take you out of the game and lose it for you. Which is
fine. I understand there's an element to that.
Well, there's virtue to that, but that's not a selling point. Yeah.
And this notion of, well, look, only a real competitor and only a real winner would let a coach take the ball out of his hands. What? Like, we're now giving him credit for not complaining about not throwing a single pass in the second half against Penn State? I find that weird. And when you look at a lot of quarterbacks that have gone on to be very successful in the NFL, it's this weird double-edged sword because, yes, quarterback is the hardest position in all of sports. And when you have a good one, it makes everything else better. And if you have a bad one, see the New York Jets, you can be good all around, but if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going anywhere. But this idea that you win or lose simply based on the quarterback, especially at the collegiate level, it's foolish. I go back and look it up. Tom Brady was 20-5 in his 2 years at Michigan and never won the Big Ten. Tom Brady actually got benched at one point while he was at Michigan. He split time at quarterback. By the way, he was never even a Big Ten second-team selection. He was twice Big Ten all honorable mention. Patrick Mahomes went 13-19 as a starter at Texas Tech. His best year was 7-5.
The point is, it's not the W's and the L's that they put up. It's what they're going to do with a new team, a new system, with the physical talents they have.
John Elway, 20-23. Never went to a bowl game. Josh Allen, 16-11. Peyton Manning never won the SEC. Started 4 years at Tennessee, never won the SEC. Do you know what they did the year after he left?
They won the
They
championship.
won the national championship with T. Martin.
Yep.
So is T. Martin a winner and Peyton Manning's not? This stuff just now, if you watch the film and you think that J.J. McCarthy is an enormous talent and you love his pocket presence and he delivers all the footballs and all of this, that's fine.
And I think there's also virtue too, if you line up 3 quarterbacks and you're like, man, they all have similar mobility and great arm strength and accuracy, but this one guy, he's got the intangibles, like he's the winner.
Yeah.
But you got to do the other things first. Check the physical boxes.
Yeah, like as someone points out on the Vancouver Ford text line, you know who's one of the great winners in college football history? Tim Tebow. Vince Young single-handedly beat, at the time, what many people, myself included, thought might be the best college football team of all time. And that Texas team was okay. I think Michael Huff was on that team. I mean, they had some talent. Might have been, was it Cedric Benson was his running back? It wasn't Ricky.
That sounds right.
I think it was Cedric Benson.
It definitely was not Ricky, but yeah, I think
there was
Benson.
some talent there. But make no mistake about it, Vince Young single-handedly slayed USC.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Was Vince Young any good in the NFL? Like this notion that you win, it is so strange to me. But at the same time, I don't want a quarterback that can't lead a team. I don't want a quarterback that
of course, but that can't be the only thing he does is be a good locker room guy.
Yeah. And so the J.J. McCarthy stuff is just fascinating.
It's perplexing.
To me because I don't, and maybe this is just a media narrative, and so maybe this is just, you know, we're getting pushed this direction by
agents and marketers and things
marketers
like
that we're being told this, and then behind the scenes,
or even smokescreens from teams who want you to think they like him instead of somebody else.
And behind the scenes, you're NFL people think a different way. Maybe he's a guy that goes tumbling, or maybe NFL people behind the scenes be like, trust me, this guy may not show everything, but when it comes to it, we believe that he is more Tom Brady. Yeah, he wasn't asked to do a ton, because I guess this could go the other way too, in that Michigan didn't ask him to do a lot. Because there are throws. If you go look at their 2 playoff games.
Sure, it's possible that he has more there than we've seen. But
he's got some phenomenal, like I see people that break down film on Twitter, and I loved, like, I think Dan Orlovsky does a really good job of this. Matt Miller does a really good job of this. And there are some throws that you watch him make in those games. You're like, okay, that's a big time throw. Right? 5-step drop, feel the pressure, step up in the pocket, look the safety the other way, delivered one across the middle, big time throw, and you're like, that's amazing. But
you don't have 30 of them.
You don't. And so this becomes the question with J.J. McCarthy. What did they say about the only person that could hold Michael Jordan under 20 was
Phil Jackson.
Or in college.
Yeah, Dean Smith.
Dean Smith, right? And so is this a case of J.J. McCarthy being held back because it's Jim Harbaugh, and Harbaugh's like, I
refuse to let you lose this game by turning it over or something?
And there could be an element. Like, I didn't believe in this with Justin Herbert. Like, I was one of those guys that when I watched Herbert play in college, where I was like, I need more. It's too inconsistent. They don't rely on him enough. I was not in love with Justin Herbert. And you heard that was a product of their offense, the philosophy. They didn't want to take risks, and they kind of neutered him, and he didn't necessarily have great receivers around him. That's not the case with McCarthy. But clearly with Justin Herbert, he was being held back by his coaches and his offensive scheme. Is this a case with Michigan where they're like, hey, man, I know, that you've got all these capabilities, but it's just not what we're going to do. We're going to run the ball 40 times. We're going to play defense, and I don't care that you have the ability to do this. Is that the case, or is this one of those where he is more Ken Dorsey than he is Tom Brady?
Yeah.
And I think for all the talk of Bo Nix and Penix and even Drake May being risky guys to hang your hat on, I do not think that there is a riskier player in the draft than J.J. McCarthy. And
you have less to look at. You have less body work to fall back on.
And he's being talked about like he is this.
People talked about him as number 2.
I don't see it. But again, I'm not a quarterback. I don't know exactly what that makeup needs to be. I know there's a lot of intangibles there. I think I need to see a little bit more.